Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Talent You Should Know, where we focus on the entertainment industry on a different level. Not only will there be artist and actor interviews of known and unknown talent, but insight into the team behind them that helps them build their brand. Each week, we'll tackle a different person in the industry with talents in their own rights. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Talent You Should Know with Zag. Today, we have Global Liaison, Super Connector, Client Relations, and Social Media Manager of Mungo Creative Group, Lucky Church. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Queen. I appreciate you for even seeing a light in me to have me on your show, and that means the world to me.
Thank you for just making the time to come on. I really, I'm feel so privileged. So,
oh, thank you. But y'all need to know she's been patient with me. I've been juggling her schedule all day, but she's still accommodating me and is so kind. So y'all need to know that y'all dealing with a special one. She's a sweetheart.
Thank you. So, I wanted to start from the beginning because we're actually kind of from the same area. You know, I was on 139th and Riverside.
Oh, wow.
Before my parents moved us to Jersey.
Okay,
wow. But yeah, so you were born in Harlem and raised in the Bronx, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And so I read something, and I won't get too into it if you don't want to, but just like you were raised by, your grandparents.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about your story is that I think both of us had these upbringings where like it wasn't necessarily the greatest. Like I grew up fine in Teaneck, New Jersey, right? Like when we moved, but within the house.
Yeah.
I can
relate.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what I liked is that, you said that you turned your pain into power. So can you kind of talk about that part of your story a little bit?
Yeah, without going too deep into it.
Yeah.
I was raised by Reverend Simons and Mr. Simons, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My grandfather's name was Coda Simons and my grandmother was Gladys Simons. Typical Southern names. And they had a tragic past of their own, mm-hmm. Which kind of just set them up for how they treated my brother and I when we came into their lives, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were already done taking care of their kids. And again, I'm not making excuses.
Yeah.
But this is the older version of me looking back at the situation and understanding that there was more to the pain I went through and more to how they treated me than meets the eye, than people see at face value. So me understanding their story a little bit more and really regretting not being able to connect with them on a deeper level before they passed, because my grandmother ended up passing with dementia. And my grandfather, died 2 days after her. That's another story within itself. But it was a very hard life with them because they were very strict from a religious standpoint. Mm-hmm. They expected a certain thing from us from school. And they ruled with an iron fist, which was is the only way I can explain it.
Yeah.
Definitely very abusive mentally, physically. You know what I mean? And but again, I attribute that to their upbringing and what they were used to, because when you come from parents that were sharecroppers and growing up through, a whole different era of racism,
right?
Still experienced today, but when the beating is all that's all you can do.
And it's interesting you say that because that, I'm 43 now, and my
mom was, just beautiful, wonderful person. My father he had a harder life, right? Born in a cotton field in Mississippi, and they walked up to, and that kind of stuff. So like you said, the situation at home was insane. You know what I mean? And the neighbors knew it, but it was what it was.
That's the truth. Yes. The neighbors be knowing the dirt.
But as I got older, I realized that he was doing the best he could.
Yeah.
And that, he might be holding on to the anger still, but I've let it go to the point where I'm just like, you know what? You're my father. I love you. I'm leaving all that. You know what I mean? Because I'm here because of you, right? Yeah. So, that being said, one thing that I think we also have in common is that, you were in like choir and ballet and track and field and that kind of stuff. So
you really read.
So I don't take these moments for granted. I'm telling you, I printed out stuff because I just was so impressed with you always.
Thank you. Wow. Like I was definitely in choir, which is something I miss now because after heart surgery that I had, my second heart surgery that I had recently, my vocal cord was paralyzed.
Wow.
So which, now inhibits my ability to sing. But I was in choir growing up. I ran track. I was in all the school plays. I did ballet. I was actually one of the good dancers that they would pick for shows, but I was also very mischievous. So I was the kid who everybody knew was smart.
Yeah.
But Walter was always the class clown and getting in trouble at the same time.
Right.
That was so me. But and that all circles back to my grandparents, despite them not supporting a lot of the things I did.
Yeah.
Because, nobody was coming to the shows. Nobody was showing up at, practice on my track meets. I had to, you have to dig so much deeper within yourself and just find a way to stay motivated through it all.
Yeah.
Because it can crush you if you are not equipped to, I'll carry that baggage, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which everybody is, but we have to find our own way to deal with it and to cope. And what works for us. Sometimes we focus on, we see somebody like myself or like you.
Yeah.
And we just automatically say, wow, I wish I could be as strong as they are. And it's like, they have no idea that we struggle.
Oof.
But we just pick ourselves up and we find a way to push through, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's through the healing of music. Sometimes it's from the healing of just doing for others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And helping. Or sometimes it's just a long walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And looking at the sun and remembering what I need to be thankful for, and rather than the pain, and again changing that and taking it and using it as the soil that I can grow in and become this beautiful thing that blossoms into who I am today.
What I find interesting is that like when I was looking up some things is you put down reality show winner, right?
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Team Bronx, right?
Yep. All day.
All day. So tell me something. Doing stuff, like that was that the catalyst kind of for your group for JUS Evolution? Like, how did that start?
Oh wow. Well, actually, the band we were already doing pretty well at that time.
Okay.
Not like extremely well, like worldwide known or anything like that, but we were successful where we were getting offered to tour Germany.
Wow.
And move around, go to LA and South by Southwest. We opened for Janelle Monáe and Big Boy from Outkast, which was another great thing. Did some stuff with Method Man in Canada. Excuse me. But that was just an interesting time frame. Wait, what was the first part again?
No, I was just saying, did, when you were on that show and that kind of stuff?
Yes, no, the show. Now, how the show thing started, I was literally sitting at home and watching a commercial, and on the news, you know, they popped up and said there's this show about health and fitness and technology, and they're kind of combining all these cool things. And I said, you know what? What if I just went in and did the audition? But when I realized the audition was literally that day, and if I didn't make it by a certain time, I would have never went.
Right.
So I remember I didn't have a chance to get a haircut. I looked crazy. It was so bad. I had a do-rag on, a hoodie, and I just ran down to this location, walk in, and I remember actually, you know what the funny thing is? Hindsight being 2020, when I walked in, the two people who ended up being my teammates were sitting there. I didn't even realize that till now. That's the funny part. Wow. The two people ended up being my teammates. I was actually the very last person that they were letting in for the audition. So I walked in, and they asked me a bunch of questions about my life, and then they asked me to sing. This is when I could still sing. And they said, hit a high note. So I hit a high note. And that night, I didn't even know that they had selected me. So I'm watching the news, and Sue Simmons is on the news, and she's like, yeah, in this contest tonight. She's like, then here's one of the auditions. And then they showed me singing.
Wow.
So Sue Simmons goes, what did she say? She said, woo, that voice will make me lose weight. When I tell you I fell out, it was just hilarious. But long story short, they accepted me to the competition. And we traveled around the 5 boroughs filming. Yeah. And it was kind of like The Biggest Loser meets The Amazing Race meets, you know what I mean, American Idol, I guess. I don't know what the hell. But it was a real cool show. And we actually were winning through the entire competition. It was ridiculous how much we were winning. There was only one team that really gave us competition, which was Brooklyn. And shout out to Mom Girl Renee, AKL Jews NYC. She was my only competition. Yeah. She would kick my butt with all the writing competitions and stuff like that.
Wow. So this was prior to when you did the JUS Evolution, right?
This was actually around the same time while I was in the JUS Evolution. We were still traveling at the time, and that's when I was literally about to move out of the band, actually, because we were going through some trouble towards the end of our, I would say membership together or just fellowship. There was a lot of distress, and I was carrying the band for the most part. I was the manager, singer, one of the songwriters, the publicist.
I saw you did everything.
Things that were titles that I didn't even know existed. I was just doing what was needed to be done to kind of push us to the next level, because the lead guy of our band was actually blacklisted in the music industry.
Wow.
And it wasn't of any fault of his own. He was just seriously outspoken. Yeah. And everybody said, Lucky, you crazy for taking this band on, because this is going to be the death of you in many ways because they was like, you're taking on baggage that is not your own. I said, but no, I believe in this kid, and I believe what we can do together. He was the hip-hop Hendrix. Yeah. You know what I mean? Wow. He would play with his teeth on the guitar, play behind his head, rap, sing. Brilliant kid, brilliant, But, with brilliance comes a strong attitude.
Yes. Yes. And what's interesting, because I read that you used your government name to sign as like your manager, which is different than your stage name. And I was like, oh, the workarounds that we do.
Yeah. That's funny. I was just telling a friend of mine the story the other day. We just needed to be taken more seriously. So we needed an entity outside of ourselves. And we really couldn't afford a manager. We weren't making money like that. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to use my regular name. Yeah. And just start signing documents and sending stuff off as him. And people just assumed that Walter Simons was like some white Jewish guy, white or German guy.
Tell you, that is the best name that I've seen. That's a good one. Like for all
You get hired over the phone.
And I read the story how someone, when you were interviewing with someone and they were like, wait, what? Like when you showed up?
Yeah. Oh my God. Exactly. That happened to me at Saks Fifth Avenue, actually.
Yeah.
You really did your research. Wait, because I applied for them, for the interview. They talked to me over the phone. They loved my diction. They loved the way, everything about me through the phone interview.
Yeah.
And when I showed up, the lady was so shocked.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, yes. She's like, oh, sir, go sit back outside. I have a few minutes. I have to talk to them. And I was like, no, I'm Walter Simons.
Right.
And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
And she didn't say holy shit, but you could see her face expressing that. Oh my God, you good.
So, so tell me about your transition behind the scenes, from the forefront to behind the scenes, because you were already kind of doing the back end work, but it seems like you loved singing. So how did you say, you know what, I'm going to be over here?
You know what? That was actually, I would kind of say, God, the universe, whatever that thing is you call it, pushed me in a different direction.
Yeah.
I was kind of forced because at that time when I made the transition, my band was letting me go. The leader of the band wanted to fire me, my partner, Just. And I was confused. And then the band themselves quit. The actual members who were the musicians quit because they were like, without you, Lucky, we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
You were the glue for us. So that instilled a different kind of strength in me that I didn't know I had. And it also gave me a sense of a power that I had that I didn't realize. Or a light that people saw in me. So the next step was, I remember, shout out to my boy Free Smith, who's like a mentor to me. Mm-hmm. He had heart surgery around that time and was going through some stuff. And I called him up and was just checking on him to talk. And he was like, come down to the office. Come, I could use some help right now with some things until I get situated and play. He said, plus I want you to meet this lady, Lizzie Grubman.
Yes.
She's definitely a powerhouse in New York. For many reasons, and she's known and she has her own great story. Mm-hmm. But no matter what anybody thinks of her, she provided an amazing opportunity for me to grow without even knowing me. That's how I give her credit for. So when I did come to her office, they needed some help with some things, getting into events and stuff like that. So I kind of just stepped in and just did a few things, on the first day I was there.
Yeah.
And I think I know it impressed her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That somebody was just able to come in and, get some of her team into some fashion shows and off the whim. So she knew I must have been connected. And, within a week I was offered a job, a real serious job with her. I had a desk actually the next day at our office. Mm-hmm. So the next day I had a desk. A week later I was offered a real position. And within a couple months, I was, running the concierge division, which was a division that she created for me. Mm-hmm. Just because of my skill set. I was always friendly. I was able to talk to anyone in any environment and adapt to it.
And you grew really quickly in that company, right?
Quickly. It was so quick. It was so quick that we all were shocked. You know what I mean? Because she didn't think that I would be able to bring so much to the table so quickly. But also, by the time we decided to part ways, a lot of people think it might have been personal, but it was not personal.
Yeah.
It's just that we were both going in different directions. Mm-hmm. And she had a different vision than I had.
Yeah.
Where I saw the company going versus what she saw. And we just decided to part ways, and it was amicable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, that was a time where I thought everything was going to fall apart. I thought I was losing everything. But then the biggest blessing came through, which was my partnership with my brother, Ty Tyrone, who's also in the...
Yes.
That's what he goes by. Well, Ty Try One. Mm. But it's Ty Hunter is what everybody knows him by. And he ended up being the biggest blessing in my career. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't have met him had I not been working for Lizzie.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things I always tell people is to trust your journey, because everything may not seem like it has a purpose, but if you really pay attention to the details, whether they're good or bad, there's a blessing or a lesson somewhere buried in all that things that you're going through.
I think, that was one of the things I love that you said, other than, you were like, my relationships have enriched my life because I've been good to people and they've in turn been good to me. And I think, a part of that is another thing you said about not making excuses. I think it's your Mungo Creative Group. Your mission is like, you don't make excuses, you create solutions, right?
Yeah, that's actually, that was before Mungo. That's just something I've had embedded into my own company, Lucky Church LLC. But I adapted into everything that I do. You know what I mean? Because I just don't believe in excuses. If there's a will, there's a way. If you really want something, you will figure it out and find a way to it. You know what I mean? It may not be the quickest route.
Yeah.
But there is a route if you search and dig deep enough.
I want to tell you something that I was dating this guy and he said, you are not empathetic to women. I said, what do you mean?
Oh my goodness.
But here's what he said. He said, because of the things that you've gone through, you expect people to find ways to make it. And he said, everyone isn't like that. And I was like, I just feel like if you really want something, you're going to do it. So you can't say, oh, I went through this, I went through that. But he said, everyone isn't like you. Everyone isn't the same. And I said, that's what I had to realize, is that I can't put the expectations that I have on myself, on other people.
Exactly. But, and then that's 100% right. But at the same time, you can't expect sympathy for what you're not willing to work for. You know what I mean? We set these high expectations of the goals we want.
Yeah.
I posted something earlier today about this exact topic.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find it so I can read it exactly, verbatim. It's funny you mentioned this, and I had a feeling we was going to hit this topic. I don't know why.
Yes.
But what I wrote was, don't pray for what you are not willing to maintain. Work ethic must be attached to your prayers and wishes. Prayer will open the door, but you must physically walk through it to receive the blessing. Work just as hard as you pray.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's, it doesn't get any simpler than that,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think we think God or the powers of the universe are magicians, and they're going to snap and we're going to have these things.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works. Our blessings are literally attached to a string of our work ethic. And if that string is weak, we fall apart with it.
Right. Because the thing about it is, I always say, like, when I wake up in the morning, I rest in my faith, right? But I say, even though I'm resting, I'm still doing the work.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And so,
powerful.
Right. That's the action form of that, right?
Yep.
So I want to talk about when you left Lizzie Grubman, and I don't know if these were a series of rebrandings, but you had Divine Entity Management and Consulting, right? And then did you rebrand that to SMF? How did that work?
Well, during that time, I was not rebranding, but I joined the partnership with, like I said, Ty Hunter. Mm-hmm. And at that time, Ty, myself, and another guy named Sean, we were all together at SMF Global as a team. And that was definitely a learning experience within itself, mm-hmm. That I won't really dig into today.
That's fine.
But that's where Ty and I built our friendship and our bond, because we had been friends before that, but it was just, now we got to understand each other and know that we can rely on each other and as partners and friends, but at a higher level of business. You know what I mean? Because most people you get into business with and you don't really know them. So having that opportunity to work through things, mm-hmm. and go through real struggles together, taught us that we were definitely meant to work together moving forward, which actually allowed us to jump past that moment into some of the beautiful things that we're doing now, such as the work that I was allowed to do with Billy Porter, which was my hands down. I would say out of everyone I've ever worked with or worked for, Billy Porter is definitely at the top of that list as far as the most beautiful, thought-provoking, life-changing, mentoring. Like, it was like every day was a lesson without him trying to teach.
Yeah.
Just him living his life taught me and showed me how much more beautiful life could be for me if I even dug even deeper into the aspects of healing myself and just walking through pain and talking through it and dealing with it head on. And having him there to be the shining example in my life as a friend, as a business partner, as a boss, you know what I mean? In all those aspects.
Yeah.
You can't ask for a better blessing in a work situation.
What's interesting about that, and I want to get into Mungo, but because you mentioned the relationship with Billy Porter, and you mentioned the healing process, I will not do this interview without mentioning your wife.
Oh yeah, oh boy.
Because I don't know if you met her in like middle school or high school, but I mean, you said she was always in the front row of all your shows, and she was there through your aneurysm, through your heart surgery. Like, she was there through everything, and I love your love.
Thank you. That. Yeah, she's literally my heart. You know, I say that a lot because I'm very loving. Yeah. So, you know, I will say so many things to so many people, and that's always true. If I say it to you, I mean it. But when I say my heart's for real, the person who guards it with their life is Vieng, you know what I mean? My wife. We definitely met in high school. You know, but we met 2 years before we actually got together. Yeah. And it was a friend of mine. It was a close friend, my friend Christian. Shout out to Chris. We grew up together. But he told me about this girl that was cute and that, you know, kind of he thought liked him and all this stuff. And when I finally got to see her one day on the train, I was like, she likes you. I was like, man, get out of here.
Get out, scram.
You know what I mean? And you know, we joked about it. But fast forward from that moment, 2 years later, another friend of mine who just passed away, Mark Gooden, may he rest in peace. He was the one who I saw her again walking through the hallway, and I was like, damn, she's so hot. And he kind of dared me, like, I bet you can't get her. He's like, please, you know what I mean? So he literally grabs, I was scared to talk to her. He grabbed her hand in mine, pushed us together, and pushed us against the wall, and I was like, y'all need to talk. And there's a photo of that moment that I actually have. Yeah. There's the first moment we actually talked, and you know, and a month later I was on being corny, got on one knee and asked her to be my girl.
But I miss those days.
Yeah, May 25th, 1996. That's when I asked her in front of the original Yankee Stadium, or behind the original Yankee Stadium on a park bench, not knowing that relationship would lead to where I am now. But I will say, she was what I prayed for. And it's so crazy because when people say prayers doesn't work, I just look at them and just say, you don't really understand how this works. And it took me years to realize that she was what I prayed for.
Get my little.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, God will remind you. Yeah. When you forget that this is what you asked for. And sometimes we have to realize that sometimes the things we ask for are also attached to things that we have not planned for and have to be ready for. Yeah. Because when you love, you'll get exactly what you want. Yeah. But are you willing to sacrifice and carry what else comes with what you want?
You know, it's so interesting because, I mean, I know I mentioned my ex, and we didn't end in I hate you. It wasn't anything like that. It was full love, right? For reasons that are their own. But one thing I always say is that he gave me what I needed.
Mm-hmm. Wow. How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And people only attribute that to relationships that they stay in a long period of time. And that's not
No.
That's because people always come to me for relationship advice. And some of the first thing I tell them is stop getting relationship advice. I said, and they go, well, what the hell do you mean by that? I said, because you have to figure it out for yourself.
Right.
No matter what you tell people, nobody's going to know who you really are but you at the end of the day. You in that relationship and you and the person you're dealing with. No matter how much you talk to a therapist,
yeah,
you're still not giving them everything. And I know that from personal experience. So until you learn to deal with self and heal within, no relationship you're going to deal with is going to be good for you. And we have to learn that sometimes even love extends outside of just, that 25-year relationship, which everybody praises me for. But there's beauty in the 5-year relationship that only lasted for so long, that taught you a lesson or gave you something to heal from or gave you a memory to attach to. The fact that anybody can experience love at any point in their life, they should look at that as a blessing, because everybody doesn't have that experience.
And they don't. And I say this all the time. I'm like, for so long, and that's why I love my children the way that I do. I say my children are a lot stronger than me. Uh-huh. And it's because of the things that I went through in my childhood that led to so many, I think you said this so perfectly. It's like, let me go. What is it? Abuse is a recipe to breed insecurities. And I tell you, I didn't know how to actually love myself until 5 years ago.
I can relate, sis.
I met him a year later, and whatever we went through, it was the most beautiful thing. And now I know what I'll accept, and what I won't, what I deserve, what I am able to give, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something that Billy Porter said to me that he didn't even, this probably, when he hears this, he's probably going to know this for the first time that affected me. But he said to me, I had to heal so I could let love in.
Oof.
And I was like, and I thought about that. And then he went even deeper, was like, until I learned how deep I had to heal, I realized that I was blocking some of the people closest to me in my life away from even loving me the way they wanted to.
Come on.
So I couldn't receive what they were trying to give me, and they've been trying to pour this to me forever. And I've been just looking for it, but it's been right here the whole time. And I was just like, holy shit. And it made me even check some things within myself and how I dealt with my lady, how I dealt with some of my family, from some of my friends, because I think we all have room for growth. You know what I mean? And I'm still growing to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point where I would say I'm just coming into my own power, my healing, my true self, the highest level of self within the past 5 years. So I can totally relate to you saying that.
Yeah.
Making some of those connections as well, because it's the same for me.
So, I'm trying to process my thought. So I want to, because we can go into this journey.
Yeah, I'm down. We got time.
We got time.
Ain't going nowhere.
But let's get into. I want to get into Mungo, because you just won the bronze winner. Yeah, the Clio Award, and I was like, oh my gosh!
But I had no idea what the hell it was.
You.
I'm the worst, because those things.
You're like, we won something.
Yeah, those things never enthused me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an accomplishment, because I found out it's like the equivalent to an Oscar in our industry. But it's something the team worked hard on. You know what I mean? And to be in the advertising, marketing, branding industry, PR, we all want to be recognized in our own right. You know what I mean? So to have been recognized at such a high level for something that our team did, it's just an honor, man. And it's just it's an attribute. It runs hand in hand with the hard work that I see them put together every day at the office. the love and care that we show for each other as teammates, and how we uplift each other, and we're happy when another person wins. There's no jealousy, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, we salute that. So when I'm getting an article written about me for something that I'm doing outside of the company, they still support me the same way as if it was us as a team, which is why I do the same for them and uplift them, because, you know, I treasure our bond and the work that we've done and put in together. And here are some of the fruits of our labor coming to life.
So it's interesting after I, you know, read your story and that kind of stuff, I realized, and I could be completely wrong, Lucky Church as far as your name, and just, you know, I don't know if it was because you've been lucky or been, you know, blessed and highly favored, like if that's kind of like the being synonymous with your names. But tell me how you came up with Lucky Church.
Well, the name was gifted to me in two parts. The first part, Lucky, because my original name was it was a street name. They used to call me O-Dog. I'm not going to get into that, but this is a true story.
Sir, that's right in line with Pookie. And,
yes, exactly.
You know.
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into the street life.
Right, we're going to go there.
That was funny from when I was, you know, high school, early high school. But during that time, one of my cousins, he was like, you always get in trouble, but never get in trouble.
Yeah.
My cousin Randy's the one who gave me the Lucky name. And he was like, yo, man, in his Jamaican name, me call you Lucky Boy. You know?
Yes.
So he started calling me Lucky. And I always liked the name, or he would call me Lucky Luciano. That was always how he started it. So his little, he was the polite gangster is what he called me. Another story, anyway. So the church part actually came in college.
Okay.
So my friend JUS, who was in the band with me, the JUS Evolution, which was the band was named after.
Yeah.
We were in rehearsal one day, and oh God, this is so funny. And I'm singing, I'm hitting some really high notes, and he stops rehearsal. He's like, "Woo!" He said, "Boy, you sound like a fat black lady in church."
I can't do this.
And I said, and I looked at him, I said, "What?" And he was like, "Woo wee, my big toe just stepped up in my boot." And I said, "Okay." And he's like, "I'm gonna call you Lucky Church from now on." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
I was like, "Get the hell out of here." So I was like, I said, "I hate that name. I will never use it." So I remember one day we were on stage, and he literally announced it without telling me. And he's like, in long lead vocals, Lucky Church, and they went crazy over that name. And when I went into the people, was like, "Oh my God, I love that name," and they asked me to explain the story like you did. So I told them how it came about, and it was a conversation piece within its own. But for me, it actually extended. When I look back at it, I said, "Oh my God, this is actually how I live my life anyway." Yeah. Because the word lucky connects to church for me because it just means blessed. Yeah. So I was like, this is a way to tie in what I really feel about the nickname I was given. Yeah. Because I do feel like I was blessed and I have a beautiful life. Yeah. And looking at where I've come from to where I am today, I would have never dreamed any of these things in my wildest dreams at all.
You know, so what was the most surprising thing to you? Just in your journey.
The most surprising thing for me, that's a really great question. Because there's been so many surprising things. But I think 2 levels to it. The most surprising thing about my journey, number one, is, there's 2 parts to this, is how much love actually does work the way they say it does if you actually apply it and it's genuine. Because people always think that there's some magic sauce to what I do, or like that, you know, am I praying? Did I join the Illuminati? You know, all these things. And I'm like, look, I was like, no, I'm just showing people love and being genuine with them, and that's how it's coming back. And I used to hear that all the time. Mm-hmm. but to actually live it and be a breathing example of it, because there's no magical thing I do. So, you know, sometimes I'm a super hard worker. Sometimes I'm lazy as fuck. You know, and I'm just keeping a buck with you. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I've appreciated everything.
Yes.
When people have given to me, I've made sure I give them back. And if I couldn't give back to them directly, I would make sure I paid it forward. I always received blessings, so I became a blessing. And that's what has allowed me to carry through my career and never really want for anything and always feel fulfilled despite any amount of money that I could have in my bank account.
Yeah.
I am doing well, but at the same time, I had this feeling before the money started flowing right.
Come on.
You know what I mean? I loved what I did, and I loved myself as a person and what I was given to the industry. I knew that I had a lot to grow through. But again, being able to just be myself and be this genuine person that people have received and give it back to me, that has been one of the biggest surprises, but the biggest blessings in my life through my whole career. But some of the partnerships that I've been able to build have been the biggest surprises, because a lot of these things that I dreamed of, I know they talk about manifestation, but that shit is so real, man. If you see something in your mind, and you really focus and you believe in it, and but you have to believe it. Like, and when people say you have to believe it, what they're saying is you have to believe it and your actions have to speak it. That's how you show you believe something.
Yeah.
You can't just say it. You have to show up and show it. You have to
show up. And even when you say on the days you're being lazy, I'm taking it back there, because I had a whole weekend. I didn't do a post, a video, a playlist. I said, am I being lazy or am I tired? Or do I need a break? So y'all will know this now. I just said I took a little break for me, but I was just tired. And, you know, you're like, listen, really?
And that's okay.
And it's okay. But as long as you don't let that now become your routine, right?
That part. Because it's easy to fall into that laziness and just want to lay there and do nothing. And, you know what I mean? And make every excuse in the book. But that is not how you're going to win, you know? But I am comfortable enough and focused enough to know that I can pull myself out of any of those situations. So I embrace the emotion, but I don't let it overcome me. I embrace it. I deal with it.
Yeah.
And I move past it.
Oof.
You know? And I think it's important for people in my position and higher to express that we go through those days. You know what I mean? To tell the truth about, you know, sometimes I'll be in the bed the whole day. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I'll be working, but it'll be the lazy version of me working. I'll be getting shit done.
Typing.
but that's real shit. You know what I mean? But I push through. And then there's other days where, you know, where it's like 2-3 weeks straight. You cannot find me. I'm here. I'm there. I'm on a plane. I'm on a bus. You know. But I consistently, no matter what, whether I'm tired, no matter what, I show up for me. And that's what I know counts the most at the end of the day. Yeah. Because ain't nobody else going to show up for you as much as you going to show up for you.
And sometimes that's a hard lesson for people to learn.
Yes.
So in accordance with giving back, can you tell me about thankful moments and why you, you know, how you came to associate with them and why that's important?
Yeah, Thankful was, oh man. What a beautiful organization that was. But the reason I came to work with them was a friend of mine, Justin Cameron, who is a super duper tech guy, inventor, and just all around businessman. I love him. Introduced me to the couple that, you know, had Thankful. And their message was struck me about the power of just being thankful, the power of being mindful, the power of appreciation for just life and the little things that we take for granted on a daily basis. And that message just resonated with my heart and my life and just the things that I was going through. and just my journey and story and how I always looked at life. Because I always looked at life from a perspective is, yeah, this is bad, but I know somebody going through 10 times worse. And it was that perspective that always allowed me to like get up and go again. Even if I had a few days where I was knocked down, I still always found a way to get up and around it. And actually, not to jump off topic, but the reason that happened in my life, because when I was a kid, there was something that happened that was so shocking to me that made me realize, and I carried this through life, to never make excuses.
Yeah.
And I was in Atlantic City with my grandparents, and they would let us, run to the arcade by ourselves. They would be somewhere close by on the boardwalk, but they would say, go to the arcade, we play video games. One of the rare times we had family moments.
Right.
But anyway, one day on the boardwalk, there's a crowd surrounding somebody, and I hear music playing, I hear people clapping, and I had to be maybe 12, 11, and I remember walking through the crowd to see what the commotion was about, and there was a lady on a stretcher, and she was playing the keyboard with her tongue. So I'm confused now, because I'm like, what? I'm a kid, so I'm like, what the hell is this? Why is she doing that? And my thought is, why is she using her hands? So from that thought, I look to where her hands should be and realize there are no arms. And then after seeing no arms, my head begins to continue to look at the rest of her body and realizes that her legs were cut off at the knees. And her kids was around her. So what I now know were her kids, but some of the kids were around there holding up change buckets and stuff. And that's a powerful lesson for somebody that young. And I just looked at that like, if this woman is not making an excuse to get up and make money and make it happen for her family, what the fuck am I doing?
Come on.
Complaining about
you see me sitting here like,
complaining about this toenail that's cracked so I can't put my shoe on. Like, no, stop it. Get up and get out here and go to work and get shit done. Even if it's just sending one email for the day. Yeah. I remember that lady and I say, I cannot let this day pass. I can't let this time go by without me getting something done and being productive. Because what would she have done?
And it's interesting when you see things like that, when you go through things and you put it all in perspective, like there's not a day, I could say, oh my gosh, it's so hot. Or I'll say, oh my goodness, it's snowing outside. But I don't complain about it because I remember when I was homeless. I remember when I was sleeping on floors, when I wasn't, you know what I mean? And then I say, there are people who are still in those situations. Right? And so then you're like, okay, you know what? It's snowing outside, but I'm going to go in and make some hot chocolate, and it's like you said, like, all right, let me just throw this shoe on and
don't get this done. I don't want to. Same thing like we're going to the gym, doing certain things that we just know we need to do, but we don't want to do. It's just finding that anchor that's, that roots you, and you'll find a way and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But also not being too hard on yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the hardest person for us to forgive is usually ourselves.
Oof.
That's the one we forget about the most every time. And I'm guilty of that so much too, you know what I mean? Even till today.
I promise sometimes I get re-embarrassed. Do you do that? Do you have moments?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. It's happened to me quite a few times.
Yeah.
On quite a few occasions. Oh my goodness.
So what would you tell anyone who wants to do what you do?
Anybody who wants to do what I do, I would just say, if you want to do what I do, make sure you love it first. Because it can be as much fun as I have and as much of a happy perspective as I have about what I do. It can be a very thankless journey.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable with that. And I explained that to another friend of mine. They say, how do you know when you love what you do? And I always kind of use this old quote mixed with my own, but you know that you love what you do when you're willing to plant the seed, knowing that you will not see the fruit that the tree bears. Because sometimes you are just meant to be a part of the process of the growth of that thing that you're doing, and somebody else will bear the fruit or be the savior of it or be the face of it. but you have to love it so much that you just know that you did your part.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that. And that's sometimes a hard thing for people to swallow. And I take it even with musicians. Could I use them as an example? Think about how many musicians have helped musicians that were unknown get discovered. You'll have that musician who may grew up on a band that he loved so much, but it may not be known to the world. But that person who didn't mention, oh, I grew up and there was this band that I used to compete against and they're the such and such and they really influenced me in how I perform and stuff like that. Now you have become a part of history, but you had no idea you were going to be the seed that planted something in somebody that was going to actually bear the fruit and be that person that you wanted to be. But you were also part of the journey, so you're just as important. Yeah. So sometimes we're meant to be the inspiration, but sometimes we're meant to inspire. And just to inspire at a smaller level, that will end up being something bigger in the future we can't even imagine.
And that's what I love. I love about this. You know, I say it in my little clips behind the foundation when I'm, you know, ragged and whatever. And I'm like, every time I do an interview, I get to speak with someone and I get to pour into someone and I get to showcase someone who might not have been seen, or maybe someone who's well known, but maybe you didn't know that part about them, or they inspire me or something like that. But it's just, to me, it's like the joy of just being able to shine a light on people. I don't know. I don't get paid for this and I don't care. I love it, you know?
I love that. And I love that you love it so much. That's the kind of love you have to get where you want to go. But again, it's just, you know, having something that you can do with passion, that's a powerful place to work from. Oof. So powerful, man. And I wouldn't trade what I do, the journey, the bumps, the bruises, none of it. I wouldn't trade for the world because, again, without every step of that journey, I would not have or be the person that I am today. And I appreciate it all.
So I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
And then I'm going to pause it and I might ask you something else.
No problem.
I want to know what you think about the importance of owning your name. Because, yes.
Powerful. And it's funny. You're touching on things that I'm going through right now. This is incredible.
Because there are people who are out there and they're, you know, they might be little this, little that, or I might be like, I just trademarked the fuck out of everything that's associated with me. And I, you know, bought all of the entities and that kind of stuff. Because you don't know.
Yeah. And it's important. And that's just good business. And this is something that people don't understand. The power in owning your name, phrasing certain things that we spell and do uniquely. All of those little details, people go out and buy those things. And I had to learn the hard way myself with my band. Because once somebody saw the value in my band when we were coming up, I went to buy our website 10 years into the band. And now I had to purchase it from somebody because there was a lawyer who was actually a friend of mine, okay? Catch that part. Who I thought was a friend of mine, who went and bought every entity known that could even possibly associate with the brand name.
That is...
And I was like, wow, but again, it was a lesson learned because I said, look how other people put more value on what I do than even I was putting on myself, and didn't realize it and didn't think that the little intricacies of business were important.
Yeah.
You know, here I could have walked into a situation where we did sign a record deal and then he could have came and said, no, but I own the name. And we would have had to find a way to pay that man because he would have been right. Or we would have had to change the whole band's name, which then could change up your whole marketing plan, could change how the public receives you, because now they don't think it's the same thing. They think you're trying to be fancy. So owning that name, owning your brand, owning anything you can within your business is just so important. And it's one of the keys to really building this thing we call wealth.
Yeah.
And how we can learn to start passing down generational wealth to our kids and farther than that. You know what I mean? I think those things are important. And what I'm going through with my personal name now, you know, my real name is Walter Simons, but I feel Lucky Church has really become more of a brand, so I'm actually literally changing my name to Lucky Church now.
That's awesome. I actually thought that was your name until, you know.
Yeah, I know.
A couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually literally change my name simply because I'm at the point in my life where I feel like I fully earned the right to walk as Lucky Church.
Yes.
Because it was a name that was gifted to me that I didn't fully understand the meaning behind it. I didn't care enough to look into it. But once it hit me, and I realized that this was a blessing on my life and this was just a projection of who I was going to become, I'm ready to live in that light and I'm ready to become Lucky Church 100% and let Walter Simons rest, because Walter Simons is the one who was procrastinating.
Yeah.
Who was waiting, who was self-doubting, you know what I mean? Who cared but didn't care too much. You know, Walter Simons had a lot of issues he was carrying with him and baggage that he couldn't heal from. So Lucky Church is now helping him do that.
You know, that's the perfect segue. I want to end this right here with a quote from you, right? Because that was, yeah. You said, trust your journey and know that what's meant for you will be yours. The most powerful asset we have is the magic of our minds. And we must know that everything we do has a purpose. When you walk with purpose, you will truly be happy and fulfilled.
Sometimes even, you know, sometimes, and let me be clear about this. People say that I'm, you know, they always say, oh, you're stepping on my toes. No, I'll be stepping on my own toes, because when I talk, the quotes that I'm giving are moments that I'm sitting in the mirror.
Yeah.
So if anybody feels personal with those things, it's because they see themselves through my mirror.
Yeah.
I'm just a reflection of what I feel. And that statement, I'm so glad you chose that one, because I remember where I was, why I wrote that. And it was a moment where I just sat down and just, because I have those moments where I just need to sit down and write sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But I just know I need to get this out, and it's something powerful that even I can't understand. But I know if I need it at that moment, and the reason I share it is because I know the message is bigger than me. Oof. Because we're all connected, you know what I mean? We're all part of each other. So I know if I need it, somebody else needs it, 100% sure. Yeah. So I put it into the universe, and I know it'll gravitate and float to the next person that needs it, and it'll continue to float until it gets to everybody it's supposed to. You know what I mean? And sometimes it circles back and smacks me right in the face.
Right in the face.
You said this, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, and I'm never claimed to be holier than thou.
Yeah.
You know? I'm just as imperfect as the next person, but I'm perfectly me and will always be.
Yes. Thank you.
My pleasure, Queen.
Coming on this show. This was just the best. It took everything in me not to cry through the whole. I will say that.
I love you.
It was such a beautiful conversation.
I would love to come back one day again.
Yes. Will you please let everyone know where they can find you?
Well, the good thing about my name, there's only one Lucky Church in the world until somebody wants to just start impersonating.
Right.
But thank God that has not happened. But you can find me at Lucky Church. I try to keep all the branding the same: Twitter, Instagram. I don't use Twitter as much, but I'm very active on Instagram, Snapchat,
yes,
TikTok. I'm getting better with it. You know, I just love to watch TikTok. TikTok is me. Oh my God.
It wins every day. Every day, yeah. TikTok wins the internet.
Yeah. TikTok and the internet itself.
Yeah.
Always the real MVPs in any situation, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. And I want you to have an amazing, amazing day.
Thank you, Queen. It's already been amazing. I'm talking to you.
Thank you.
So it can't go anywhere else from here. I'm already in the clouds. I'm above. I'm in the galaxy somewhere. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Talent You Should Know. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well as leave a review. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.